That afternoon in with the atmosphere quiet, only the sound of the AC and the soft creaking of chairs from the unused rooms could be heard. J-Hope had just finished a short meeting with the staff and intended to go to the pantry to make coffee. His way past the lounge room that the members usually used to rest. As he approached, his steps slowed. From the gap in the door that was not closed properly, he saw two very familiar figures. Jungkook and Taehyung sat on a long sofa near the window, accompanied by the warm afternoon sunlight. Taehyung wore an oversized gray sweater while Jungkook wore a simple white t-shirt. But it wasn't their clothes that made J-Hope silent, but the distance between them, or rather, the lack of distance. Jungkook sat sideways, his body leaning towards Taehyung, one hand holding a teacup while the other hand holding Taehyung's hand. Not a showy grip but a natural grip, as if it was an old habit. Their fingers intertwined casually, and occasionally Jungkook rubbed the back of Taehyung's hand with his thumb, a small but meaningful movement. Taehyung, with his always calm gaze, looked at Jungkook with a thin smile. His voice sounded low and soft, though J-Hope couldn't quite make out the words. Jungkook occasionally chuckled, looking down shyly, then returned the smile with a glance that made the atmosphere between them feel like a small world only they understood. The afternoon sun shone on their faces, creating a silhouette that almost looked like a painting, two people so comfortable together, without needing many words. J-Hope couldn't help but smile. He knew Taehyung and Jungkook were close, but seeing them like this, it felt like peeking into a romantic chapter of a novel he'd never read. Not a big, dramatic moment, but a small moment that was even more precious, where warmth and affection were felt without having to be announced. With a slow step back, J-Hope closed the door silently, then walked away, muttering softly, "Taehyung, you guys, if the fans saw it, it would be a big deal." A small smile still lingered on his face, because he knew he had just witnessed something sincere, love that lived between their hands and their gazes. The difference between Taehyung and other ships was actually very clear if we were willing to look closely. In many of the interactions captured, both on camera and in candid moments, we can see that Jungkook is often the one taking the initiative to approach, touch, or initiate interactions. Jungkook has a natural tendency to seek out Taehyung, whether through small gestures like touching his arm, patting his shoulder, or even openly calling out to him. Meanwhile, Taehyung has a different approach. He tends to be relaxed, mysterious, and sometimes even a little reserved. This doesn't mean he doesn't show affection or attention, quite the opposite, but he does it in a way that feels very personal, as if there is something precious he wants to keep just for the two of them. This is what makes Taehyung's dynamic feel so genuine and genuine. It's not overdone or fake, but that's precisely what makes some people in the fandom feel annoyed or even jealous. We recently saw this phenomenon again, right after Jungkook's latest post. Instead of enjoying the sweet moments between Jungkook and Taehyung, some people came to Taehyung's dedicated space or account to present evidence of other ships. Not to discuss, not to share happiness, but to try to disturb. The question is, why not just celebrate their own ship? Why bother entering another ship's territory if they're so sure of their choice? The most logical answer is, because Taehyung's solidity is unsettling to them. They know Taehyung has a long history of consistency and success, and that's hard to refute, even with alternative narratives. One of the most recent triggers was a short video shared by Jungkook. In the clip, Jungkook is seen watching anime, and what appears to be Taehyung is seen lying on his lap. The camera angle is unclear, doesn't show the entire body, and certainly doesn't provide absolute certainty. However, it's enough for some to immediately claim it's proof of a relationship. Ironically, the people claiming this are the same ones who often say, Jungkook's never been that close to any of the other members, or there's never been a moment like that before. But, if we're being honest, Taehyung's track record is full of such interactions. Taehyung sitting on Jungkook's lap? Too many times to count. And it's not just on one special occasion, it's happened on camera, during Weverse or V-Live live shows, backstage before concerts, even in the practice room. Furthermore, it's not just about sitting on a lap. There's body language that accompanies those moments, the way Jungkook holds Taehyung's waist or thigh, as if to ensure he stays there, as if that position is naturally Taehyung's. The gesture didn't seem awkward or formal. In fact, it felt like a habit that had been built up over the years. There was a sense of belonging, a sense of protection, but also a tenderness that couldn't be faked. If sitting on a lap was considered a sign of a romantic relationship, then by that criteria, Taehyung would have confirmed their relationship long ago, even long before these recent moments. But beyond that discussion, there's one thing that can't be ignored: the relationship between Taehyung, Jungkook, and all the other BTS members is that of family. They grew up together, going through thick and thin, supporting each other. There's nothing wrong with being seen close to one another, because that closeness is part of their identity as a group. The problem arises when someone can't accept that freedom of interaction and projects their insecurities into resentment. They can't stand seeing one member spend time with another, because it destroys the fantasy or narrative of the ship they've been maintaining. Meanwhile, I personally never feel jealous or upset when Jungkook is seen with another member, because I know exactly what's going on between Jungkook and Taehyung. Their relationship is unique, solid, and has a distinct energy. The glances they exchanged, their habit of searching for each other even when they weren't aware they were being filmed, the way they understood each other through small gestures, all of it signaled something more than just friendship. And one more thing was clear: Taehyung was expressive, spontaneous, loving, and not afraid to show physical affection to anyone he cared about. We've seen this with many people, including Jungkook, and it's part of his character. But if we look closely, there's a different aura when he's with Jungkook. The chemistry feels different, warmer, and more personal. So, if anyone thinks that a short, misinterpreted video could end Taehyung, they're sorely mistaken. One clip won't erase years of history, consistent moments, and established patterns of interaction. Taehyung wasn't built on a single day or a single photo, but on continuity, the small details that happened only between them and the way they cared for each other without needing words. This relationship was built on patience, trust, and a strong partnership. And it is precisely because that foundation is so solid that Taehyung remains relevant, not just today, but for a very long time to come.
Back a year ago,